The Russian army and their tanks, they were a mere 2 fields ahead. This is where they were hiding.
That is what life in the trenches looks like.
If people are wondering what happens to those pickups provided by volunteers, here's a great example. This one got a direct hit.
Were they applying some electronic warfare? Why didn't you know how many of them there were?
They had it all. They still have loads of things. Even the abandoned equipment demonstrates to us how severe the battles were. Here, take a souvenir. You can keep it. I doubt you could film anything like this in Kherson. We recaptured this small area. It now looks so insignificant on a global scale, and yet it could well become the last drop in the bucket that would help us take back Kherson. This one here, for example, it's an Odessa patch. It belongs to a guy who participated in an assault on the pumping station. He's one of many. This guy used to be one of the ultras football fans from Odessa. Those very guys who used to shout football in the streets are now among the best of all fighters.
A Bob Marley unit.
Yeah, it belongs to Mujahid. This is another patch from him, somewhere here. This one is from the 72nd Brigade. You see, each one of these patches has its own story. This is how the 59th Brigade's patch used to look like, but now it looks different. That is how it looks.
It went through some decommunization.
Yeah, a little bit. But now I'm not sure I understand what it is. Is it a road? People say, as if someone counted, that there are 59 corners here. These ones are Russian. You see, this one is still stained with blood. We washed the patch, but didn't manage to wash away the blood. This one is in Russian as well. This is the Russian corner. You know, some colonel hitches a ride, sees all this and wonders, wow, what a cool collection. Let me give you this one. This patch here is from the Comeback Alive Charity Foundation. Bit by bit, the collection grows, you know. This one is from the Bond charity, Our Beauty. Odessa Brit, a founder, she's a star. She provides a lot of help to our military. We'll drive through a lot of shit now. You owe me a car wash.
Deal.
What the heck? We can only drive on the road here.
There are mines still around here, right?
Yeah, this place is littered with mines, unexploded shells, and so on. You don't want to risk it by driving on the grass. You know what I'm talking about.
One has to be careful.
Yeah, you know, it's better to play it safe. This is the very road we were using all the time. I took part in just 3 attempts to take over the pumping station. But the other guys were going there much more often.
So the fighting here was quite difficult, as this area is just an open field, right?
In general, here the atmosphere was quite special. For example, when I was first fighting in this, what's it called? In the Donetsk direction. There were coal spoil tips, there were forests, glades, you can see. And now look around at this place. You can imagine how it was to advance here, when, for example, the Russian bastards were hiding in the trees, and in order to reach them, you had to cross the open field, the steppe. Exciting, isn't it?
Was anything growing in this field?
Yeah, there was wheat. But, you know, it was burned down completely. I remember what a pity it was to watch the harvest just going down the drain.
Did farmers make any attempts to rescue the harvest?
Yeah, well, they did, and they rescued some. It was such a bizarre scene to watch. The artillery duels between the Ukrainians and the Russians raging, and a combine harvester gathering crops in the midst of it all. Those farmers who were driving those harvesters deserve the status of military operations participants, you know, medals for bravery and all that.
Many people stayed.
Many people stayed, they worked, and they helped the army. And many of the farmers were just not helping. They fought as well.
All those memes with tractors did not come out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Memes about tractor brigades stealing tanks.
That's them stealing tanks, all right. We're going to the pumping station now. This one was one of the key points where the liberation of Kherson started from. Well, at least for me. Every direction has its key point. And for us, for example, for the 59th Brigade, this pumping station was a bone in the throat. And as soon as we broke through to the pumping station, the things were snowballing. Before that, we were just defending. And then the first attacks began. And the first, let's say, successful operation when we took over the pumping station. After that, we recaptured another small piece of woodland with no name. And so we started to advance step by step to Kherson. I've mentioned this recently, and I'll say it again here. Here in the Kherson and Donetsk regions, and up north, at the border with Belarus, each of us defend their own home place, no matter how far it is from the front line. Here I defend my hometown, Bila Tserkva. The others defend Kyiv, Lviv, Ivano-Frankivsk, or Ternopil. So that's how we were driving over these holes and bloody craters every single day under the fire. This was always happening under fire. There were constant explosions on both sides of the roads, and the road itself was fully exposed to the enemy fire.
Where were the positions of the Russians?
They were at the front, in an arc shape. We're now approaching the woodland area, where the Russian positions were. And you'll see where the liberation of Kherson actually started from.
How far is Kherson from here? About 50 kilometers?
Yeah, about that. But there was almost no fighting near Kherson itself. All the battles were actually fought along this line. It was roughly midway between Mykolaiv and Kherson. The fights were taking place mostly in the middle of the area between Mykolaiv and Kherson. This was one of the strong points of the 59th Brigade. It's a settlement, but you can see how it looks now. It's simply leveled with the ground. There might not be even a single intact building. The whole village is completely destroyed. The Russian army and their tanks, they were a mere 2 fields ahead.
What did they use? Everything they could?
They used everything. These are not some ditches. They were made for vehicles' protection. And this here is a shelled vehicle. Russian artillery hit the vehicles. If people are wondering what happens to the pickups provided by volunteers, here's a great example. This was a direct hit. I don't remember now, but I think this was either a Mitsubishi L200 or a Nissan. It was directly hit. That's what military vehicles look like after they're hit.
It doesn't seem to be burnt out completely. Was the fire extinguished?
Honestly, I don't remember how it was. There was such a firestorm here that... You can watch a video from my page. The car was parked right here, and we were getting off.
In this caponier?
No, it was just parked here. There wasn't any caponier at the time.
I see.
There was Sova and Zibert in the video. He only managed to say calmly, "Get down!" And right away, there was the arrival of 152 caliber rounds. Be careful, it's slippery here. Well, this is where we were hiding from the enemy fire. You can use your flashlight to walk in those tunnels.
This is what a life in trenches looks like.
This was one of the companies of the 11th Battalion.
This house even looks not so damaged.
You can see the traces of shrapnel everywhere. Every dot could mean death to somebody. Thank God it hit the house and not a person.
That's a terrible thing.
See how big the explosions were here, what caliber it was. Not a single house remained intact here, as you can see. In fact, the village is deoccupied, but it's dead. There's no sense in staying here, especially with winter coming. There will be nothing to do here in the winter. The village may come to life again one day, but neither the land nor these houses is worth anything at the moment. There were no people here at all. Just animals, cows, pigs, geese, and hens were running around everywhere. There was plenty of food running around, and they were dying all the time. Here's an example. A cow was wandering the area, and a round exploded. The cow fell, so you could have some fresh meat.
That's awful.
There were so many animals falling dead that, as far as I know, local authorities and the commander of the 59th Brigade started to catch those cows and take them elsewhere. Just you look at this. That's exactly how it was.
What a fat pig. Or is it just pregnant?
Yeah, it could be pregnant. This is a Vietnamese potbelly pig or similar.
It seems so.
And right here, some really big pigs were wandering around. So you knew you'd have at least some food. And also volunteers would bring us everything. So, you know, there was plenty of food. That was rather an unusual experience. It's so warm outside, so wonderful. It feels great, huh? I hear some helicopters flying by. I wonder if they're ours or not. But anyway, the entire assault action began from this tree line. We disembarked the carriers and started our advance through those trees towards the pumping station. There was some greenery at that time, and there were a few trenches here and there. Our advance would stop to a halt as soon as their artillery started shooting at us, rather aggressively. We could not just stand up and go ahead, as there was a real firestorm all around. You could see all these trees are chopped down by the artillery fire. They're all damaged. Not a single one of those trees was left intact. And so we kept moving through those trees towards the pumping station. Some would die, mainly from the artillery shelling. At first, you know, firearms, they were rarely used. But as the fight reached its tipping point, it all turned into a firearms shootout. These are civilian cars, I imagine. They were hit really badly. As far as I know, there was a family here, trying to escape.
Not mines?
Huh?
Did they run over mines?
No, they were just shot by the Russian bastards. This is the path we had to cover. You can see all the road and that cross over there. Everything beyond that point were Russian positions, where we started our advance. This is a canal. It's filled up with rubble, as you can see. The bridge was blown up completely, so we moved along this canal. There was a huge crater from the explosion in our way, but we kept moving forward. If you look past that way, those 5 or 7 pillars, this is where the pumping station is. This is where all the Russian bastards were. Why did we move along the canal? It was just impossible to approach that place from the field. It was a kill zone, fully exposed to enemy fire. Canals were also under fire, but we made attempts to advance there and to bring down their surveillance cameras, shoot down some of the hostiles, and so on. About 300 meters ahead, there was that thing. Then our guys arranged some sleeping places here. And later the guys also camped in this canal. This is our tank. It's still here. We haven't taken it yet.
I reckon it's not so easy to do that with such a road.
Well, it's not bad now. We might return that way. I showed you how we were getting here. In the summer, it was much drier, and it was much easier to get here. But when it was raining, it was impossible to evacuate wounded or bring anything. No ammunition, nothing. If not for the pickups provided by volunteers, we could do nothing. Only some heavy army trucks could get there, but we only have a few of them, and they are quite noticeable targets. Everyone tried to take this strong point, which seemed impossible. You know, it was like Mecca. Troops kept coming here for 3 or 4 months, but no one could capture it. And then there was this tipping point. We captured it and pushed forward, forcing the Russians to retreat. We were advancing from one tree line to another, one after the other. We were also learning, you know. We didn't fight in the steppe before, not me at least, so we needed to work out some scheme. First, we covered the area with these types of weaponry, Then we use other types. Then we approach from this side, and then we advance from the other. There's a really great battalion commander with the call sign Nochny. His name is Yan. His subordinates say that he is some kind of a maniac, but he is one of those commanders who fight really well. There are well-liked commanders who do not force people to move forward, and yet they lose the same number of soldiers at their positions due to artillery fire. There are also commanders who push forward, fight their way through, and of course, they also lose people, but at the same time, they achieve the results. So if we take these two commanders, the first one is of a likable type, but he stays put and gets stuck in one place, while the other one is pushing forward all the time. And because of this, he is not popular. I assume for the sake of our country and its history, we need more commanders of the unpopular type. He's a bit crazy, but I love him for that. He's a true professional, and he moves forward. He is constantly working with his people. He devises some tactical schemes, drills them, and so on. So a good commander from the subordinate's point of view is not always the effective one. A commander may seem a despot to his subordinates, but again, I know that those who have some experience will respect him. And those who, say, keep their asses in the trench and refuse to move, those with low discipline, to them such a commander will certainly be a
tyrant.
A tyrant, yes. That's a philosophical topic of the war.
So how did you guys manage to take that pumping station at the end?
A group entered the perimeter and shot all the hostiles down with assault rifles. By the way, their bodies, they were lying there for a long time. Nobody was taking them away. We called them the guards of the pumping station. I don't even know if this has been done yet. It could well be that no one has taken them away. And as it happens, no one gives a damn about them. And no one wants to touch this rot. You know what I'm saying? We took the bodies of our soldiers, and that was it.
An irrigation system.
Yep, that's the one, and it cost millions. You can see that it's also damaged. It's destroyed. But I believe that one day it'll be repaired. By the way, what a striking difference it is to see the positions of our guys and the Russians. Our positions, they're clean and tidy. The guys collect all the garbage, while those Russian bastards are like some bums. They eat, sleep, and shit all in the same place.
Was this some sort of Russian command post here?
No, this was their strong point. They were hiding here, under the ground. There are lots of videos of how our guys throw grenades from drones right into their dugouts. The work of the drone operators here was highly professional. They sometimes managed to throw several grenades into the vent. A lot of Russians were killed with the DJI Mavic 3 drones and grenades. They were putting a grid and a cover at the top so that a grenade would explode right over it. But we uncovered them over and over again, and they kept losing their people. Here, take a souvenir. Keep it. You can see a lot of Russian military uniform pieces here. We needed to come in here and kick them out, and then enter the pumping station and recapture it. And we had no idea of the Russians' actual numbers and where they were. Walk on the path only, all right? Follow my steps, please.
Were they applying some electronic warfare? Why didn't you know how many of them there were?
Well, they had all sorts of things. They still have all sorts of things. It's a mistake to underestimate their army. They can detect the moving of the equipment by sound. They use some microphones. And they also saw us with their drones. They could see a lot.
By the way, I think that generator over there looks functional.
I'll send some people to check it out.
Right.
Good eye, well spotted. Can you see how stripped this UAZ 4x4 is? Step very carefully. Do not move around. Your curiosity can kill you. I doubt you could film anything like this in Kherson. And who knows what's buried under all this shit.
They are here forever, huh? There are still some of those billboards in Kherson. Just you look at that. Russia is here to stay forever. You see? Russia is to stay forever. Aha. So they had another way out here.
Yeah. Can you imagine how heavily our artillery peppered this area? We beat the hell out of this place because this was their strong point.
Did they have solar panels?
Yeah, they stripped the panels from the houses and brought them here.
Did they try to plug them in somehow?
Yeah, I assume so. Follow my steps, precisely.
Have you any idea how many of them fell here?
Nobody counted them.
I wonder how a tally of enemy deaths is made. Are those just guesstimates?
The figures reported by our military? No, those are guesstimates. Every day there are... don't bother trying to remove it. The mud will stick back on right away. The video footage was used, taken from a Mavic drone, for example. They used to put together those, what's it called, the reports. You can't just announce that you killed 10 hostiles. Also, the counting is usually based on the vehicle's capacity. For example, we hit a tank, so you know that its crew consists of 3 people. Yeah, this is our tank. Our guys died here. The Russian artillery was blasting us from over there and to this tree line. These trees survived, so to say, 2 fighting waves. The first one was our artillery strike, and the second was the Russians' one. Artillery had less power, so as we reached this place, the trees were still standing, but not for long.
The Russians knew these positions very well, right?
Well, they could see all this place. Mind you, they've got satellites, drones, you name it. If you stay behind that tree line over there, and also night, they were defending, and we had to come close enough to that tree line to be able to kill them. You can try to imagine what it was like. And again, you don't know if this field is mine, but you need to cross it to kick them out. That's the liberation of Kherson we are talking about. And so it was with every tree line, every field. You know, when they say, we advanced 1 kilometer, that might sound trivial. They recaptured some field, which you can't even see on the map. And do you know how many of those fields there are? You've traveled by plane, haven't you? Have you seen those numerous fields?
Yes, I have.
We captured such a small area, it might look insignificant on a global scale. And yet, this could well become that last drop in the bucket that would help us take back Kherson. But then think about how many people's lives we paid for this drop, this field here. It's not the tank that matters, but it's the people inside it, you see? And from the look of it, they all died. You need to understand that even if we now sign a peace treaty or something like that with Russia, it'll only be temporary. And how temporary? For a year, 2 years, or 5 years? It remains unclear. Russia will return again, be it in 10 or in 20 years. That's why we should stay vigilant even in 20 years from now. We must do everything to make our army professional. Our army should be young, because now many of the fighters are people in their 40s, their 50s, and 60s. And actually, there are some 50-year-olds who fight better than soldiers in their 20s. They're experienced, and they may not value their own lives as much as they value the lives of their subordinates.
What will our complete victory look like for you? Will it be the disintegration of Russia?
And what does the disintegration of Russia actually mean? Their country will collapse. There'll be internal tensions, there'll be fights, quarrels, but then they'll unite again and come at us. This already happened in 1917, remember? Russia did collapse once. They killed the Tsar, The communists gained power, and then what? What did those communists do? They came to Ukraine again. So, when their country disintegrates, when it collapses and falls into ruins, there'll be a lot of poor. And those poor, once again, will look at their neighbor who lives well. They'll envy this neighbor who has a cherry orchard by the house, whose house is white and tidy. And once again, they'll demand to come to this neighbor's house, to rob him, annex his land, and use his resources. They've had this mindset for centuries. And sadly, we didn't learn anything from this, from our own mistakes. We don't do enough to become so strong that they don't even dare to glance over our fence, because they'll know we'll immediately punch them right in the teeth, and punch them so hard that they'll end up somewhere in Siberia. Do you understand? Everyone needs to work hard to achieve that. Entrepreneurs should work hard to develop the economy. Journalists should work hard to convey this point of view to everyone. And the military should work hard. Everyone around should work hard to unite the nation. And first of all, teachers should work to bring up the children. You can't change those people who live here right now. Those who lived in the Soviet Union. Those who want to have the Soviet Union back, even after Russia has come at us. Even though they know perfectly what life in the Soviet Union was like, they keep praising Russians as a brotherly nation. And what do the Russians do? First, their army enters Kherson, and immediately after that, their teachers come to the city. That's what we should take care of. We need our teachers to perform patriotic education, and not just for the mark in a school diary. We need to teach our children between 10 and 15 years old how to use weapons professionally. They need to study weapons, robotics, and operating drones. They need to learn how to be in the military. They should be ready when they grow up. And if there's no war, fine, great. They'll become entrepreneurs and do business. They'll be much stronger. They'll have proper self-esteem, and they'll know how to use weapons and many other things. In my time, I was attending all those clubs of model making, including aircraft and vehicle models, and whatever. And as you see, it proved useful to me. Can you imagine? Now I make machines that can plant or remove mines. I make machines that collect drones. For example, when a Mavic drone falls, there's no need for a person across the field to pick it up. My machine can drive there and get it. That's the future of our army.
Nevertheless, returning to my question, what would you consider our final victory?
The unification of our country. The final victory will be when we restore order in our country. That's our final victory. And also when we kick them back to the border and beyond. What is victory? It's the collapse of another country. It's defeat. I don't think our army is going to enter Moscow. What might happen is some form of collapse of their political top, or maybe something else. I'm not an expert and I can't foresee all these events. Our victory, as well as my personal victory, will be when some strong people will come into power. People who will live with honor and who will follow their conscience.
We had a great filming session today. We visited the positions where the deoccupation of Kherson had started. These positions are 15 kilometers away from Kherson. The liberation of Tavria and Prichornomorya regions was happening meter by meter. It is now clear that every division had their own small, designated region to recapture. And that is how the entire area was gradually deoccupied. We film this video and show it to you now so that you've had a better understanding of how intense the fightings were and how difficult the operation was. Since it was basically an open field, which was very hard to cross unnoticed, not to mention to kick the Russians out from their positions, which they had gained back in the spring. That is why so much time passed between the officials' first announcements of their plans to liberate the southern region and the actual deoccupation of Kherson. What great men and women serve here, and in the other regions too. Yesterday, we talked to one of the former members of the special police force who had returned the Ukrainian flag to the Kherson Regional Administration building.
Are you really from Ukraine? I said, yes, we are. They asked, are you soldiers? Say, Palenitsa. We said, Palenitsa. Okay, we believe you. Go on then. And we hoisted the flag.
Today, we interviewed other guys. They are from Bila Tserkva, and they are engaged in intelligence and aerial reconnaissance. These people are all different, but they are all incredibly motivated to kick the Russian bastards out of our territories.